Okay, so this is lab one. We're just going to go over connecting to your Linux account and changing your password, as well as writing your free C program. I already have the VPN software installed, as well as PuTTY. Instructions on how to get both of those are in the lab PDF. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to open up the VPN software. I'm on a Windows computer. To do it on my computer, it's in the taskbar here. After it's already running, I right click and do connect to. Next thing I'm going to do once I have this up is enter my UMass username as well as my current UMass password. My username is already populated because I've already used this program. So just type both those things in and then hit connect. This page may or may not be up for you, but when this is connected, you'll get the notification at the bottom. Next thing, I'm going to launch PuTTY. And it's going to want an IP address from me. You can get an IP address from this web page. This is also linked in the PDF, and you're going to select one from this list. Don't everybody select the first one or the last one, just kind of pick them at random. We want to distribute the ones people are using. So next, I'm going to paste one of those IP addresses into this box, and then I'm going to click open. If this comes up, just click yes. And here I am. So this is the Linux terminal. Now first thing I want to do is it's asking me for login details. You're going to use your UMass, your current UMass username. So there we go. You're going to hit enter. Now it's asking you for a password. This is not your UMass password. This is a completely separate thing. The default password is currently fall 2020 with a capital F. That looks like fall 2020, capital F, no spaces. So you're gonna, and when you type in your password, it's not going to show up. So see how I'm typing my password, but you don't see it. So once your password is entered, be careful when you type it. You should get a screen that looks similar to this. Now the very next thing we're gonna do is we're gonna change your default password. So to do that, we're going to type in YPPASSWD. Careful when spelling that. And it's going to ask to enter your old password. So this is, again, fall 2020. Then a new password. And then a new password. Again, this password has nothing to do with your UMass account. It doesn't need to be the same password. Just make sure it's something you remember. And I would recommend actually not making it the same as your UMass password, just because you're required to change your UMass password and you're not required to change this password. So just make it something you'll remember kind of always. All right. So once that's all squared away, that's the kind of Linux account aspect of the lab. Next, we're going to go into how to actually write C programs. If I want to get a little more space in my terminal, I can type clear here. And I get some breathing room. I'll just make this a little bigger. All right, so a couple of really useful Linux commands that we're going to go over. The first one is going to be ls, and that's going to list all the files and folders that are in my current working directory. So we see I have a bunch of stuff from other classes here. What we're going to do is we're going to make a new folder for CIS 190. I already have a CIS 190 folder right there, but I can make a new one by typing mkdir. So that's make directory, and then the name. So let's do CIS 190. And if I type ls again, we see I have a new CIS 190 folder right there. Now to actually enter that folder, I'm going to do cd, change directory, CIS 190, and there I am. So we see this change, and if I type ls, there's nothing there. It's an empty folder. If I want to move back up in the directory, so let's say I want to get back to this folder, I can type cd ... like that. And now if I type ls again, we see I'm back in this original folder. So let's go back into my CIS 190 folder like this. Give myself some room, and I'm going to make a new folder for my first lab. So just like before, cd lab 1. Oops, no, that's because it's not made. So mkdir lab 1, and then cd lab 1. There we go. So now I'm in lab 1. Now I want to make my C program. Now to make a new file, we can use the touch command. So touch, and then it's going to be lab1.c. So we're making a C program, so make sure to end it in .c, and then hit enter. So when I type ls, we can see I have lab1.c as a file in this folder. Now, this is where it can get a little bit tricky. For this example, I'm going to be using a specific command line text editor called Nano. I don't recommend you using this. I would recommend getting the compiler that we're going to be using, which is GCC, on your own computers and just doing this all on your own computer. That'll save you having to use the VPN and using the lab computers at all. This is more just an example of, this is a worst case scenario. So if you can't get it working on your computer for whatever reason, this is just a fine way of making your C programs. That said, I do have guides on how to make or how to install and set up GCC on Mac and Windows. That's on my courses under programming resources. So that'll help you do homeworks on your own computer. You don't need to be connected to the internet or anything. So I would recommend doing that at your earliest convenience, at least before next lab, so you don't have to deal with this anymore. But we will be using, it's all the same stuff. It's whether you use the lab computers or you follow the instructions, it's all the same stuff. So like I said, in this lab, I'm going to be using Nano to modify this program. So I'm going to be type nano lab1.c, and this brings up this screen. So this shows me the file that I'm working in. I can type here. This is just like a normal text editor, except I can't use the mouse. I can click around, so I have to use arrow keys. So we're gonna just write up a real simple C program just to make sure, get you guys comfortable with writing the C program and the compiler that we're using. Show you guys how to use the compiler that we're using. So the most basic program in any language is going to be a hello world program, which is going to just print hello world right to the screen. To do that in C, we first need to include something. So this is a package needed for printing. This is the standard in-out library. That's going to let us use the print function. Next, we're going to make the entry point to our program. That's going to be the main function. This is the syntax for a function, but we'll get more into syntaxes later. So for now, we're just going to type int main, open close parentheses, and then these are braces. And at the end, we're going to want return 0. Next, we want to just do that print statement. So it's going to be print f. The F stands for format, and we'll get more into print formatting in the next lab. For now, we're just writing a simple hello world program and hello world, just like this. And then I'm going to type \n. This is a new line character, meaning once it prints hello world, the cursor is going to go on to the next line. And I'll give examples of when you mess up the syntax or mess around with these. Don't include the new line, and you'll see what it looks like. So this is my basic C program. Hopefully it's got no errors. What I'm going to do is, as you can see at the bottom here, we have our nano command. So I'm going to do Control X to exit. I want to click yes for saving. And then I don't want to change the name of it, so I'm just going to enter. So now I'm back here. I'll clear this. Once again, if I type ls, there's my lab1.c. If I want to open it again, I would type nano lab1.c and see there's my program. Next thing I want to do, so that's the C program. That's a human readable program. I need to compile that into something that the computer can run. For this class, we're going to be using GCC as a compiler. So in order to compile that program I just wrote into an executable, I need to type in GCC and then the name of my program. So this is lab1.c, and then hit enter. If there's no errors, it won't print out anything. Let me just show you if there are errors though. Oops, nano lab1.c. So let's say I missed a semicolon over here. Let's just delete that. Exit, save, don't rename it. And then I type, and then I try to compile it again. We say I get an error here. So if you get anything, any errors that show up, just make sure that you make really sure that you've copied everything exactly. So let's put the semicolon back. Yes, GCC lab1.c. So it's compiled. Now when I type ls, we can see I have a new file here. It's called a.out. This is the default name for the executables that we make. I would really recommend naming them, just makes it a little clearer. In order to name the executable, when you do gcc lab1.c, we're going to do -o and then the name of the executable. So let's just call it lab1. Don't call it lab1.c because this will overwrite your code. I've seen a lot of people do this. Don't call it lab1.c. This is something new. This is a new file. So I'll do -o and then lab1. And then when I type in ls, we see I have the lab1 dot there, right there. So now that it's compiled, this is my executable. This is the computer runnable executable. I need to actually run it. In order to run it, I'm going to do // and then the name of the executable. So I have two here. They're both the exact same. But if I didn't name it, I would do /a.out. And if I want to run the named one, lab1. So when I go run that, we see I get hello world. Now, if I, let me just show you what happens if we don't have the new line there. Yes. And then I want to, every time I change the source code, I need to recompile. Remember, changing the source code is not changing the executable that we made. So every time you make a change to your source code, make sure you're also recompiling it. Again, I've seen a lot of people come to me with issues. It's not working, it's not working, it's not working, and they just forgot to recompile it. So run it again, /lab1, hello world, no new line. We see how this is a very ugly output. So just make sure that because a lot of the programs we're going to be writing are very output heavy, make sure that your outputs are formatted nicely. Okay, so now that this is done, that's our program. That's an introduction to the compiler we're using. That's kind of it for this lab. Now, once I finish the lab, you guys need to get checked off. So what you're going to do is you're going to raise your hand in the Zoom meeting. I am going to move you into a separate room and you're going to share your screen with me through Zoom. And then once you're sharing your screens with me, all I need to see is you run the lab, run the program that you made. We can, I want to look at it. So lab1.c. And then to actually, so after I say you're all good, that's checked off, you're all set. Then what you're going to do is you're going to take a screenshot of this window. In Windows, you can use the snipping tool. You're going to take a screenshot just like this. And this is what you're going to be submitting on my courses. As I said in the introduction video, make sure you watch that if you haven't. If you don't get checked off for the labs, I can't give you a grade for them. So if you submit a screenshot without getting checked off, you won't get a grade for it. All right, that's it.